DORA has a bite. Non-compliance, the financial version of forgetting your anniversary, it won't just make your life difficult, it'll cost you. Fines, penalties, and worst of all, regulatory scrutiny that sticks around for a while. You really don't
Hmm.
want. So I'd say preparation for a DORA audit is a bit like getting ready for a school exam you really don't want to fail. And there are some hefty fines waiting for you.
The bar for cyber resilience has been raised. Bouncing back isn't enough. Businesses must recover with certainty. Commvault's Cloud Rewind finally gives IT and security leaders true peace of mind, while freeing them to focus on AI's full potential. Welcome back to another episode of Data Protection Gumbo. I'm Demetrius, and today we have a great episode lined up for you. I have the pleasure of bringing on Sebastian Straub, who is the Principal Solutions Architect at N2WS.
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Sebastian Straub. I'm the Principal Solutions Architect at N2WS. I do spend an alarming amount of time telling people that AI isn't going to solve all of your problems, and it does stand for not to worry software.
So don't worry, but we are going to dive into why this matters. And so just want to set the stage here just around operational resilience, in that it has become a non-negotiable, especially in today's digital economy, with you have increasing cyber threats, regulatory scrutiny, and also the acceleration of cloud adoption. There's a lot of things out there that you need to be aware of, and also compliance. Digital Operational Resilience Act, if you hadn't heard, over in the EU, that is already in effect as well. So we're going to dive into a lot of these things and what it means for cloud native strategies, and also backup and recovery, and some of the crucial roles that it plays. So what is DORA, and why was it introduced, or how are you seeing it from where you sit, and why it's important?
So DORA is the European Union's way of telling financial institutions, you will take cybersecurity seriously and we will make your life miserable. It's basically the EU looking at all the cyber threats out there and saying, yeah, we don't want another financial meltdown just because someone clicked on a phishing email. It essentially was introduced to make sure that banks, insurers, and other financial entities don't crumble like a house of cards the next time there's a cyber attack or an IT failure. And I would say, think of DORA like a very strict personal trainer for anything financial, getting you in shape if you want to or not.
Simple enough, but I have heard some things around DORA being not that easily understood, in that I know personally myself, I have had different companies reach out just to try to understand exactly what does it mean to meet all of the different, I think they call it ICT, right? Infrastructure, communications, technology, and it's all financial services institutions as well. So
Right.
is there anyone else who's most impacted by DORA, or is it just financial entities?
See, you're absolutely right. I hear that quite a bit. Some of the people that I talk to, they're saying, I'm not a bank, I don't have to worry about this. And besides, it's not something I have to worry about. So the thing is, if you're in finance, congratulations, you just won a spot in this mandatory compliance marathon. Banks, insurers, investment firms, basically anyone dealing with other people's money, or such a thing where you have something to do with other people's money. So then you're under DORA's watchful eye. And let's not forget what they call, like you said, the critical third-party providers. So I'm thinking cloud services, payment processors. If you're providing any services to companies which are covered by DORA, even if you're thinking, I don't live in Europe, it's not my problem, think again. If you have anything to do with anyone who's covered by DORA, well, suddenly you have become their problem too, because they need to prove that you are DORA compliant so that they're still allowed to use your services. And that sometimes is something that people just aren't aware of. Even if you're in the States, your entire organization is in the States, if you provide any type of services to somebody, some company, some institution in the EU, you become their problem very quickly.
And also some of the organizations, so there are a couple of other components as well around this. So you're talking risk management and incident reporting, resilience testing, and oversight from third-party providers. That's a big one because we're continuing to see supply chain attacks and issues just overall from third-party and supply chain. From that perspective, it's around having strong cybersecurity controls as well.
Mm.
And the way I see DORA is that it acknowledges that, hey, cyber threat, it's inevitable, right? You're going to get it. So
Right.
we want to make sure that you have some components in place in order to try to at least minimize some of these attacks, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so I also wanted to get your opinion on the overall failure to comply with DORA. So what if this is the first time someone is hearing about DORA, which I hope it doesn't work out that way for someone? What are some of the consequences or failures to complying to DORA from where you sit?
DORA has a bite. Non-compliance, the financial version of forgetting your anniversary, it won't just make your life difficult, it'll cost you. Fines, penalties, and worst of all, regulatory scrutiny that sticks around for a while. You really don't want. So I'd say preparation for a DORA audit is a bit like getting ready for a school exam you really don't want to fail. And there are some hefty fines waiting for you. So if you can't document everything, run resilience testing, then if you don't want to be in there under their magnifying glass, you'll be more than happy to know that they will be able to point this out for a fee, like a hefty fee, and up to 2% of your total annual worldwide turnover, and that'll really hurt. Yeah, I'm not suggesting that because it just recently became into full effect. Yeah, I'm not going to suggest that anybody is going to get fined 2% of their revenue, but on the other hand, they will start handing out fees for it. There's no doubt on my mind.
Gotcha. And also, there's something else that we need to talk about here as well, and that's cloud native, right? You have cloud native backup strategies, and you also have just overall cloud and people continuing to move workloads to the cloud, lifting and shifting, and just overall sending data to the cloud as well, because sometimes it's a better cost efficiency when you're doing that, because you can get rid of some of the CapEx that you normally have. But what are some of the cloud native backups and also strategies, or I guess ways around being more cloud native and making sure that you're protecting what you have running in the cloud?
That's a good question. So think of traditional backups like old school VHS tapes. Yeah, I'm dating myself here. So you had to manually record, store, and hope the tape didn't degrade over time. Cloud native backups, on the other hand, are like streaming services, fast, easy, scalable, and designed for modern infrastructure. Unlike legacy backups that rely on clunky hardware or installing agents that back up file by file and folder by folder, cloud native backups live in the cloud, use native APIs, and scale on demand as quickly as the cloud service itself can respond. A lot of times people ask me, so what's the advantage of a cloud native solution? That's as fast as the cloud service provider itself can respond to you and your requests. So they're built for the cloud, meaning they work seamlessly with the different cloud providers instead of feeling like a bolted on afterthought of an incompatible system.
And also, since we are trying to enlighten the Gumbo listeners as well, I'm sure they've heard that I word, not you or me, but immutability, right? Which some say is the last line of defense, but there's a lot of debate on what immutability really is, and can you get around it, and is it truly immutable? We could dive into that. I've had individuals on the show who look at immutability a little differently, but we know that ransomware is out there, and then you also have insider threats as well. But immutability, from your perspective, does that prevent or stop bad guys from actually getting the data?
Immutable backups and immutability is like a time capsule that a hacker can't break into. Once created, they can't be altered, deleted, or held hostage, even by your most creative employees who think security policies are just guidelines. Without immutability, a ransomware attack doesn't just lock your files. It can also lock your backups too. And by making backups immutable, you guarantee that even if everything goes completely, totally sideways, you still have an untouched, uncorrupted copy of your data. It's a little bit like when you go into a bank and there is a sign, there's a sticker which says, oh, even if you get into the vault, we can't get into the vault because it's time locked. That is exactly what immutability means. The most basic description is it's unchanging over time. It doesn't make any difference who has it in their hands. They cannot get into it. It cannot be changed.
Yeah, I like that perspective. And also there's so many different options out there, so many different tactics that you can use to make sure that your backups and your data are secure. Also, there's cross-region, right? Cross-account backups, making sure that you're storing those backups in different regions and that they are essentially air-gapped, right? They're in different locations. But how does cross-region and also cross-account backups enhance disaster recovery strategies just for organizations' sake?
Tremendously. If you want to sleep well tonight, don't do what I'm going to tell you next. Don't type a CodeSpaces hack. CodeSpaces was a company that was around and they were in a cloud provider. They did all the right things. They performed backups, but they didn't think about cross-region, cross-account backups. So they were hacked. They got a ransom note and they said, we're not going to pay. And they said, then we're just going to delete everything. And that company, CodeSpaces, went out of business within 24 hours. So cross-region, cross-account backups are your insurance policy against everything from cloud provider outage to creative hackers or even, as you mentioned, insider threats. So if one region goes down, your data is safely sitting elsewhere. And if one account gets compromised, your backups live in a separate, untouchable account. So it's the same reason you don't want to keep all your passwords in a single notepad labeled super important passwords. Spreading out your backups means you don't have all of your eggs in one cloud basket.
One cloud basket. I like that. I like that. And let's talk a little bit about automation. So I don't know if we should loop in artificial intelligence in that conversation as well, because you can't have a podcast without mentioning artificial intelligence or saying the keyword
For
deep
sure.
seek now, right? Because that's a trigger word now, right? Because $600 trillion was lost in one day, NVIDIA, just due to DeepSeek pulling the covers off of their nice machine or their virtual machine, right? The LLM that they opened up to the world.
Yeah. Gosh, we can do an entire show just about AI. And talking about DeepSeek, I wouldn't be too worried about it because once you really look into it into detail, it's not really something we have to worry about. I think it's one of those things that it's a big wave. It's like a tsunami wave and everybody gets all scared. But then once everybody calms down and actually looks into the data that's behind it, I think they're going to feel better about it. But you're right. One of the things that you have to think about is as far as your backups are concerned, automation in backups is like having a self-cleaning house. It just gets done without you lifting a finger. Best thing I've ever done is buy a Roomba. And automation for backups is about the same thing. Using outdated backup methodologies, or heaven forbid, scripting is a slow, guaranteed problem. And it leads to someone forgetting to do it until an outage happens, of course. And automation ensures backups happen on a schedule, policies are enforced, and recovery is as fast as possible.
I'm trying to figure out how cloud native backup solutions ensure compliance just with things like DORA, right? So maybe it's not DORA, but I know that the perspective that we're coming from here is DORA. What's the angle that you would advise for the Gumbo listeners just around cloud native backup solutions, ensuring that they help with being compliant to DORA?
So cloud native always means speed. and rapid compliance is important. As we mentioned earlier, DORA has been around now for a while, and it is being enforced now. So GDPR, HIPAA, SOC 2, DORA, they all have different rules, and they all love making your life difficult. Cloud-native backup solutions help by automating compliance controls, ensuring encryption is in place, retention policies are enforced, and data is stored securely in the right location. They also keep logs of everything. So because auditors love logs, think of it like building a seatbelt for your compliance. You might not think about it every day, but when you need it, you'll be really glad it's there. And cloud native solutions will just get you there much quicker. So you can very quickly, if you haven't done it yet, you can very quickly turn that compliance around.
Okay. And what are some of the main challenges? Because we're here telling Gumbo listeners to use cloud native backup solutions, but is it easy to do? And what are some of the challenges that organizations face when adopting cloud native backup solutions, and how can they overcome them?
The biggest challenge is old habits die hard. Many organizations are stuck in a legacy mindset where backups live and die like they used to a decade ago, maintained by someone who still swears by how things used to work. And another concern is that you'll run into is cost concerns. There's a reason the people who own the cloud providers have their own space programs. So we have to be more savvy about where we store the data and how we store the data. And I would say the other is security fears, which is valid. But most modern cloud native solutions don't have the same breach issues that the old guard has. Zero intrusions and breaches is a true must for your solutions that you use in the cloud. And the best way to overcome these, involve a partner who's been doing this for a decade and a half, probably even longer. Automate everything and test your backups in regular intervals. And most importantly, don't wait for the disaster to happen first. Too many times I've had conversations essentially where the answer to the problem is I need to arrive with a DeLorean so I can go back in time and deploy something for them before the disasters happen.
I love your analogies there. You watch a lot of shows and movies, I see, right?
I love my movies.
Any good ones real quick that we must watch that you recommend here?
Oh gosh, pretty much anything that's Marvel related, you know?
Okay.
I mean, if you see my man cave, you think it's Tony Stark's garage.
You kind of favor Stark a little bit. You got the hair going to the...
A little bit. A lot of people say that, oh, you're trying to look like Tony Stark. I think he's trying to look like me. Because you've seen pictures of me. I've had this for longer than Tony Stark has been around. But talking about what's coming up, I'm looking forward to the Thunderbolts. That's what I'm looking forward to. I saw the trailers on.
Is that the one with Anthony Mackie?
Yes, that's Captain America, the new
Captain
one. But
America.
Thunderbolts is the one that they just premiered during the Super Bowl. With the Red Guardian and the Winter Soldier. I'm looking forward to that one.
And maybe one final question here. There's a lot of talk around layoffs. We continue to see in the news 5% here, 10% there, right? Large companies, small companies, especially in the tech industries. And I'm not sure if you heard about the white collar recession that was mentioned a few months ago, and IT jobs has a higher rate, unemployment rate. And I'm continually reading stories that people have applied for over 100, 150, 200 plus jobs and no responses, right? It's hard out there right now. Do you have any advice for anyone out there right now that may be looking for a position or a job? Maybe any tactics? Not sure if... I'm not saying that you're looking or you're in the market, but we just want to tap your expertise and your perspective on what you would do if you were sitting in that seat.
People are always worried about the AI. We talked about it. Is AI going to take my job? I don't think so. Months ago, I saw a tagline, which I think is absolutely true. Is AI going to take your job? No, but somebody's using AI will take your job. AI can help you with your job, but creativity and experience is always going to trump this. So I think, and I saw one of your posts on LinkedIn, which I commented on, I think it's constantly learning, keeping up with what's new, and staying involved. Don't just become the guy who presses a button every day and thinks that, oh, it's always going to work well. You have to stay involved with your job. You have to stay involved with what you're doing. And gosh, that's how I start my day. I usually just browse for all of the new things. Since we started this talk, I'm pretty sure that AWS and Azure probably premiered 3 new services.
That could be possible. Hundreds and hundreds of services are spun up in this SaaS-y world that we live in, right?
For sure.
Yeah. One final thing as well. Anything you're looking forward to just overall for 2025 and maybe into 2026 that you're excited about?
Cross cloud.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is, so we did talk about cross-region, cross-account backups, and there's definitely a thing about this. But now it's no longer, oh, we're in AWS or we're in Azure or we're in GCP. It's now more, oh, we're going to shop around what we want. Where do I want to store my data? And also, as I mentioned earlier, jokingly, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And I think 2025 is that year. It's that year where people understand that they don't have to just go with one service. They can truly have it all. And I'm really excited about it because I think 2025, that's going to be, other than the AI year and the DeepSeek year, I think it's going to be the cross-cloud year.
Awesome. Appreciate your perspective and spin on things here, Sebastian. It's been great having you on as a guest. And before I let everyone go, please check us out on YouTube. We are there at Data Protection Gumbo as well. And we have on LinkedIn a group called Backup and Recovery Professionals. So please be sure to go out and join that group. There's 26,000 people in that group. So lots of networking going on and great conversations around backup recovery and cybersecurity, blockchain, storage, and the list goes on. Sebastian, thank you so much again for being a guest here.
It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.